Nakikita po ba?
Yes po.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Era Maria Altea Di Valenzuela, and this is my partner for this reporting, John Iris Alday. We are here to report the Lesson 16, Forestry Protection, Conservation, and Development. Here are the learning objectives. At the end of And at the end of this lesson, the students are expected to define and internalize concept of urban forestry, appreciate the benefits derived the urban forestry, identify what urban forestry does to the environment, equip the basic laws governing urban forestry, select appropriate species for urban parks, internalize the general prescriptions requirements for urban greening, and lastly, able to recommend plant species for planting. Ang urban forestry sa Pilipinas ay nagsimula mahigit 100 taon nang nakalipas, na makikita sa mga natitirang puno na daang-daang taon na ang tanda, na minsay nagbigay ganda sa mga kalsada, parke at lalo na sa lumang Maynila. Ang maayos na pagkakaayos ng mga malalaking puno sa mga parke o sa gilid ng kalsada at iba pang lugar na nagpapakita ng sistema na siyang kasalukuyang batayan ng sistema at gawain. Ngunit ano nga ba ang urban forestry? Nakasaad dito na ang urban forestry ay uri ng forestry na kung saan nakatulong ito sa physiological, ecological, aesthetic, at economic well-being of urban society. Ang urban society ay isang social organization resulting from the way people in cities act or interact with one another. Ang urban areas naman ay ang mga cities or our town. Masasabi lang ang urban areas ang isang lugar kung ang isang barangay ay may populasyon na 5,000 or more. The Master Plan for Forestry Development of Department of Environmental and Natural Resources 1990 defines urban forestry as establishment and management of forest in urban environment for the physiological and psychological well-being of the people. A deliberate process of cultivating trees, shrubs, and ornament plants to affect the effects of pollutions and at the same time provide aesthetic and scenic surroundings in otherwise drab and dribbly landscape of concrete and steel structures, spot roads, walks, parking lots, and shanties along railroad road tracks. Forest parks and nature centers are green belt and boulevard lined with trees and bearing plants or even coconuts and a street with trees and plants in the island or sidewalk, and vacant lot planted to the trees, and the other green paths schools or hospitals or a factory yard with these trees, or the greening movement of people-oriented forestry designs to raise the quality of the environment of the people in urban centers. Yang ibig sabihin lamang po ng Master Plan for Forestry Development by DNR or Department of Environment and Natural Resources defines urban forestry as the practices of establishing and managing forests within urban areas and to enhance both physical and mental well-being of residents sa urban communities. How did urban forestry originate? The urban forestry is derived from two. Urban, which means carries the characteristics of a city, and forestry, which carries the characteristics of a forest. Urban forests, primarily composed of trees and woody vegetations, are often seen as a jungle in cities like Manila and Metro Cebu. However, these cities are becoming more likely jungles filled with cement, spalt buildings, and millions of people. This has led to environmental degradations, particularly in Metro Manila. To address this issue, urban forestry is conceived focusing on providing shades and aesthetic benefits to city dwellers. However, many urban dwellers lack basic knowledge about the uses and importance of trees in environment ameliorations, leading to disregard for the benefits of forest. Here are the history of urban forestry in the Philippines. In 1988, President Corazon C. Aquino issued Memorandum Order Number 198 establishing the Metro Greening Program and also known as the Luntiang Kamay Nilaan Program. Yang, yung Luntiang Kamay Nilaan Program po ay isang government policy to help ensure a healthy environment in Metro Manila area. It is done in the city of Manila noong December 9, 1988. Yeah. 1989, the Hardin ng Bayan was conceptualized. It was primarily created to transform Metro Manila into 4 persons per tree for the more 8 million Metro Manilans. Subsequently, the first Hardin ng Bayan was inaugurated in the Freedom Park, Makati. Yung Hardin ng Bayan is aimed to improve urban green space in Metro Manila. It creates a sustainable environment by establishing parks and planting trees, promoting a target of 1 tree for every 4 residents. In 1992, President Fidel V. Ramos launched the Clean and Green program through Memorandum Circular Number 5. Yung the Clean and Green program po ay promote environmental awareness and sustainability in the Philippines. It's emphasized tree planting and waste management. Noong 1993 naman po ay President Fidel Ramos again also launched the Ecological Revolution. Executive Order Number 199 was also issued directing all government office and agencies to adopt a street and park nationwide in all urban centers and assume the responsibility of greening them. In 1993 naman po ay Ecological Revolution aims to promote environmental sustainability in the Philippines. It requires all government offices to adopt the green streets and parks in urban areas. In 1993, the Department of Education, Culture and Sport (BECS) launched their nationwide tree planting drive, mobilized millions of grade and high school students for more than 33,000 public and private schools throughout the country. It aims to promote the environmental conservation through reforestation efforts. In 1998, Secretary Antonio H. Riles launched the Let's Go Green program with the component projects such as Oplan Sagipuno and the Green Scout movement. In 1998 po, focused on saving trees and the Green Scout movement, it aims to promote youth environment. And lastly, the issuance related to environmental protections, PD 953, which require planting of trees and other plants in certain places and penalize the unauthorized cutting, destruction, and damaging and injury of trees and plants and vegetation. And for the last, it is the law in the Philippines which required planting of trees and other plants in designated area. It also includes penalties for the unauthorized actions such as cutting trees and destroying trees and others. There's a lot of benefits from introductions of forests in urban communities. In general, it makes the city environment better place. Benefits includes modifications of temperature, protects from winds, erosion control, watershed protections, abates noise, protection from gas and particulate pollutants, control glares and reflections of solar radiations, screen objectionable views from the landscape like junkyards and slums, and privacy controls which secludes a particular area from the surroundings. Raw materials derived from the wood is also beneficial. With all these benefits, this is really need to establish urban forests to improve physiological, sociological, economic well-being of the urban society. The various benefits that can be derived from the urban forestry may be grouped under the following categories. With all the benefits, there is really need. We have 4 categories. We have the climatic ameliorations, engineering uses, architecture uses, and aesthetic uses. For the meaning of this, the climatic amelioration is the process to change the negative effect of the climate. In the engineering uses, it highlights the multifunctional role in enhancing both the environment and human-built landscape, addressing various environmental engineering issues effectively. And the third one, the architecture uses, it's contribute to a more cohesive and enjoyable environment, integrating natural elements into architectural designs. And for the last one, aesthetic uses, it is not only to enhance beauty of the space, but also contributes to more integrated and welcoming atmosphere. For the continuation of this report, si, ay, si ano po, John Irish Alday naman po.
Hello po, rinig po ba ako? Rinig po ako. So the next po is how trees abate pollution. Particulate air pollutants are reduced by the presence of trees and other plants in several ways. They aid in the removal of airborne particulates such as sand, dust, fly ash, pollens, and smokes. Leaves, branches, and stems are the associated surface structures tend to trap particles that are later washed by precipitation. Trees also aid in the removal of airborne particulate matter by air washing, transpiration, increasing humidity, thus adding in the settings out of airborne particulates. So, alam ko naman po na alam niyo na ang mga puno po is nagpipilter ng mga maduduming hangin po which is nag-convert po sa fresh air. So, hindi lang po siya nag-focus sa air pollution. Meron pa din po sa noise pollution which is yung trees abate noise noise yan excessive or unwanted noise are pollutants often referred to as ano invisible pollution. Noise involve both physical and psychological effects. The physical effects deal with transmission of sound waves through the air, while the psychological effects involve the human response to sounds. Sound waves are absorbed by leaves, branches, and twigs of the trees and shrubs. These plants parts are the light and flexible. Properly planted trees and shrubs can reduce sound waves by as much as 50%. So, hindi lang daw po hangin yung ma-abate ng mga puno. Pati daw po yung mga noise. Sabi po dito na yung mga unwanted noise daw po is tinatawag na invisible pollution which is ay lang po. Which is napipilter din po siya by yung kanila pong sound waves na absorb po sila ng mga leaves nila. So next po is how trees help in traffic control. Trees and plants beside being used to enhance beauty in an area in a definite pattern can be used direct or channel vehicular, pedestrian, and animal traffic. So dito naman po is base po dito sa aking pagkakaintindi, ang nakakatulong daw po ang mga puno to help traffic control. Parang napapaganda po niya yung paligid kapag punasdan for aesthetic purposes nga po sabi kanina. So next po is how tree abates glare or control reflection. In Metro Manila, we are surrounded by a myriad of shining surfaces such as glass, steel, aluminum, concrete, and water, all capable of reflecting light. During daytime, we experience discomfort when the sun rays is reflected towards us by this surface. At night, we experience the same discomfort with the glare from automobile headlights, street lights, buildings, and advertising signs. Plants can be used to soften and screen glares by proper placement of trees and shrubs on center islands and side of streets and around terrace, patios, and windows to protect drivers' vision. So, dito naman po, Yung mga reflections daw po, based sa mga example na nakalagay dito is na, wait lang, ayun. Nakokontrol daw po yung reflection niya by kapag po yung parang sa mga shades ng mga puno-puno. Ayun po. Next po is, what forestry does to the environment. Trees in urban environment provide numerous benefits such as green space screening, habitat for wildlife, noise and air pollution reduction, yun po yung na-mention ko kanina, microclimate modification, increased property values, and aesthetic enhancements. Ayun po yung na-mention ko sa part ng how tree helps in traffic control. So, they can contribute significantly to the value of, ay, hindi pa na. Trees act as natural barriers to noise and can improve air quality in urban areas, while noise abatement through planting trees may require more spacings. Combining trees with constructed barriers can offer effectively noise relief. Overall, urban trees offer environmental, economic, and aesthetic advantages that make them essential in urban settings. So, next po. Um, Target areas for urban forest development. Next slide po. So, ito po yung mga target ng for urban forest development. First po is we have parks na naka-include na po dito yung mga provincial, city, municipal, and barangay public parks, playgrounds, and other areas devoted to public recreations. Most parks are publicly owned and managed by local government units, while others are on private area owned by churches, industries, and other institutions of organization. The next po is the street right of way. So these are street adjacent to street between divided boulevards, which are often called tree lawns, pathways, and parking strips. They vary in width and often provide space for sidewalks. There is usually space for single row of trees, shrubs, and other landscape design features. So next po is yung public building and grounds. Grounds adjacent to public buildings such as schools, colleges, hospitals, auditoriums, museums, penal institutions, and courthouses are important part of the urban forest. It will also include military installations, cemeteries, airport, golf courses, and nurseries, which are managed by the government. The development of these public grounds is similar with that of the park and street of right-of-way. So, parang similar lang din daw po yung sa street right-of-way and public building and grounds. Next po. Number 4 po is extraterritorial lands. The urban forest often goes beyond the populated limits of the city. Shelter birds, groves, forest reserves, and even vegetated landfills are part of the urban forest. This forest provides watershed protection, recreation, scenery, place for disposal of waste products, and source of raw material for community. Ito naman po yung mga parang mga place na hindi po natin ng tao, which is yung mga na-mention po. Yung sa forest reserves, groves, vegetated landfill, etc. Next po is yung riparian areas. These areas refer to river fronts, canals, channel diversions, lake shores, and even seashores, which are also part of the urban forest. Ito naman po yung mga malapit sa bodies of water. These are often developed as the area for recreation, green belts, and often space within the cities. The development of these areas usually is similar with that of parks and other recreational areas. So, next po is yung private lands. Private lands refers to all kinds of residential, commercial, and industrial lands which are also targeted for urban forest development. Contribution of private land area to urban forest depends upon the size of the available space and the extent of the tree planting conducted by the owner. The development of private land is mainly dependent on the purpose of the owners towards the land. So, ayan po. Next po is yung characteristic of tree species. for urban forest development. So ito naman po yung dapat yung mga karakter ng mga puno na ating ilalagay or ating pangangalagaan sa isang urban forest. So, una po sa lahat is yung may kapasidad po siya na mag-grow into and develop within the assigned space limitations. Kung baga po eh, kung ano lang po yung limitation, dapat po is kaya niya po maka-survive dun sa space na yon. So, next po is resistant po dapat sa peste at saka sa mga sakit. Next po is adapt adaptable to the existing and expected environmental stresses of the sites. Next po is it is culturally low maintenance species, so madali lang daw po maalagaan. Maalagaan. It has satisfactory growth rate. Ability to fill the functional use in urban areas as buffer, shade, shelter, and aesthetic. So ito daw po is pwede daw po siyang mayus bilang shelter, yung mga pag po sa mga malililim ganun. So, next po, it has reasonably effective lifespan. Ayun po yung mahaba yung sa buhay po ng puno. Tsaka po yung percentage of survival that normally occurs after transplanting or planting. Yung po kapag lilipat na po yung mismong puno or itatanim na po ay dapat po mataas po yung chance na mabubuhay yung punong itatanim. Next po. Ito naman po yung mga species na suitable for urban planting. Una po sa lahat ay yung mga puno na may mga matitingkad na kulay, such as battle brush, banaba, dapdap, fire tree, African tulip, golden shower, at saka yung last po na, Ancoan dilaw. Hindi ko po sure kung anong pronunciation kaya. Sorry po. Next po is yung some species suitable ay yung trees with beautiful foliage or needles po. Norfolk pine, Japanese cypress, silky oak, buri palm, bunga or betel nut palm, puhagas, at saka yung royal palm. So, yung shrub naman po with bright flowers at colorful foliage. Yung poinsettia po poinsettia po ba yun? Gumamela at saka yung yellow bell. So, other species observed to be performing well in the urban environment. Ayan po yung rain tree, mahogany, Manila palm, nara, rubber tree, etc. po. Next po. So, ito po. Nakalagay din po dun sa module na meron po isang case study about sa urban forestry, which is yung upland sa Gitpuno. So, ang upland sa Gitpuno po is a project aimed to raise the level of awareness of Metro Manila's residents on the urgent need to save damaged and injured growing trees and to identify all kind of trees that are needed to be treated and saved. It was first launched at the Phil-Am Life subdivision, Quezon City, and highlighted by the signing of the Memorandum of Agreement. After its successful implementation, a seminar workshop was conducted for DNR, MMDA, and Philippine Safety Colleges and LGUs to equip them to basic knowledge and skills of the tree surgery and other silvicultural treatment and practices. Thus, application of the project in this work is in the other urban areas in Davao and Cebu. So, naglalayon po ang Upland sa Gitpuno na magbigay ng knowledge about po sa tamang pag-aalaga po ng mga puno. Yung mga existing na po na kailangang alagaan na instead na po ay mag-replant or mag-replant ay kailangan po dapat na mas alagaan yan. Next po. So, ito po yung mga common identified defects and abnormalities of trees in Metro Manila. Ito po yung kadalasang makikitang problema ng isang puno sa Metro Manila. Yung may cavities po, may injury by root curling, gas poisoning, cut face or scars, abnormally formed due to nails, injuries and defect by inflicted by men, tsaka po yung last na injury caused by yung mga kaskaserong driver. So, ang objectives po ng Upland sa Gitpuno program is to undertake measures to save trees instead of cutting up burning them. The next po is undertake the inventory assessment of all living trees in Metro Manila, particularly those injured or diseased trees in major thoroughfares, parks, and sidewalks that needed to be treated and safe. Next, please, to encourage the participation of all stakeholders like LGUs, NGOs, civic clubs, religious group, and POs in technical training seminars of saving trees to serve as counterpart in their respective areas. And yung next po is to provide input for the master plan for urban greening and identify appropriate planting site and right trees and plant species needed. Next po. So, ito naman po yung mga benefits and socio-economic impact ng program. So, yung program po is magsusustain na exist and improve the lifespan of the trees so that the resident of the general public will continue to enjoy fresh, clean air, shade, and recreational value of trees. So, saving and protecting the trees will lessen the burden of spending more for replanting and the maintenance of existing growing trees. So, sabi po dito na yung pagsasave po tsaka pagpoprotect ng mga puno is makakatulong po para hindi na gumastos yung mga LGU sa mga replanting po yan. So, sabi din po dito na everybody is encouraged to grow trees in cities. Greening in metropolis should be part of our commitment. The following are recommended general prescriptions requirements for the more successful implementation of the urban greening activity. So, first one po is conservation of existing flora. Unless it is necessary, existing flora, especially trees, must be conserved and development activity in private or public area. Replacement of trees found not suitable to the area shall be removed gradually so as not to create adverse impact to the microclimate of the area. Next po. The next one po is yung for all lands in Metro Manila. Ayan po. Whenever possible, it is highly recommended that all lands, whether private or public, must allocate 30% of the area as a green space. In addition, the existing law and regulation on zoning should be properly observed and that all construction of building and structures must be set back at least 2.0 meters from the boundary and the edge of the roof or the edge of the floor, whichever is larger. The setback line must be turf or landscape or planted with trees wherever possible. Planting birch planter of at least would be enhanced. At least 2.0 meter wide must be provided along all building for commercial areas landscape promenades would enhance the environment within the commercial district. So the next po is yung for water bodies. This refers to water courses such as rivers, canals, streams, drains, lakes, esteros, reservoir, and ponds. Easement of water bodies must be freed from any form of development that do not conform with the greening objectives. Development of water bodies can be in form of first po yung constructing promenade along the banks. Next po is greening the banks by encouraging the growth of plant in perforated slabs or similar material. Next po is landscaping of the land area with flowering plants and infrastructure like railing benches. Next po is hard surface around water bodies such as concrete walls, stone, bricks, etc. Should have more Talang po. Camouflage with greenery. Next po is yung drainage canal can be covered and converted into the landscape from it. Next po. So yung number 4 po is a screen for unsightly areas. Unsightly areas such as workshops, storage areas, bin center, substation, powerhouses, etc. Within land parcels, private or public can be screening into a height of at least 2.0 meters with tree palms and hedges and all other appropriate plants. Next po is yung screening of walls. All walls can be screened from site to a height at least 2.0 meters with tree palms, hedges, creepers, or climbers, whichever is appropriated to the land. A planting strip at least 13 millimeters must be provided for screening purposes. Boundary wall should not exceed 1.8 meter in height, and if the boundary wall is solid, it should not exceed to 2.8 meters. Number 6 po is yung for car parks. All open car parks, whether public or private, can be planted with trees with a wide crown to provide shade. Ayun po yung kanina po pong binamention na mga kailangan daw po magtanim ng puno para mag-provide ng shade. Yun. Aeration slab covering 35% of the entire area can be provided and turf with the grasses. All the void area can also be planted to maintain aeration, drainage, and greenery. The trees must be properly spaced and provided with tree guards to prevent damage from careless drivers. Next po. So, for roadside planting po, yan po, dyan almost the right guidance. Almost all roads in the Metro Manila are not provided with green space for planting. Even sidewalks are occupied illegally for other purposes, mostly vendors. Roads are also subjected most often not to the widening or renovation. It is highly suggested that the following be undertaken or be incorporated in the development planning. So, yung first po is yung provision of planting verge for the planting of shade and ornament trees which are properly turfed or landscape. The next po is yung where there is inefficient land along narrow roads to accommodate planting verges, at least one side of the road should be provided to maintain greenery and shade. Yung pangatlo po is yung center island with the widths of more than 2 meters can be planted with shades. And shades with colorful flower. All center islands can be also turf and landscape. However, it are possible expansion to ease heavy traffic in the future. Think shrub can be planted and can be easily removed in the case of road widening. Next po is an avenue of single species of usually smaller trees should be planted along the short roads and streets. For roads such as expressways, highways, etc., species of bigger trees should be buried at least every kilometer to provide visual variety during long distance and travel and to prevent potential epidemic attacks or pests and disease. Palm can be substituted for small trees when there is insufficient depth to support the standard requirement for small trees. Next po is yung all trees planted along roadside should have the characteristic of high branching at least 5.0 meters clear trunk. So, next po is yung small trees can be also planted along the roads which are close to building or congested with overhead services to reduce of necessity of constant pruning of branches. For special planting naman po, planting places of the other hard surfaces po is yung mga overpasses and flyover can be screened with plant from the ground at least 2.0 meter in the height with the built-in planters from the sides. Next po is yung planting area should be required below overpass and over flyovers, including staircase to allow the growth of climbing plants and creepers. All structures below deck level should have rough finish to facilitate and grow creepers. Yung next po is yung where it may not be practical to existing overpasses and flyover to be treated with the rough finishing means mesh structure should be constructed around the column to allow for the climbing of. Next po is Ground soil should be provided around columns, staircase, etc. for planting to soften the visual impact of the structure. The next po is whenever possible, the space under the structure should be covered with soil at least turf or provided with plants and planters. Yung F naman po is when possible, the DPWH, DOTC, and other agencies responsible in the construction of overpasses and flyovers, etc., should be requested to include built-in planters that can accommodate trees, palms, and other plants in the design before the construction. At yung last po natin for the special planting spaces is yung where it is applicable at all planted areas should incorporate means of aeration of self-watering system from rainwater channel from root gutter to planting through. Next. Ayan po. For plazas, walkways, pedestrians, at promenades. So, yung all plazas and whether public or private po ay may kailangan po incorporate for provision for tree planting. Trees planted must have aeration of 20 square meter with an area of 1.5 meter by 1.5 meter around the root collar, and it must be also turf. Next po is beside trees planting and landscaping, amenities such as footpath, park shelter, park lighting, play equipment, etc. are to provide and maintain in all public plaza parks. Next po is yung walkway of at least 2.0 meters wide should be provided for our plazas, parks, and promenade areas. Aeration slabs should be used to construct walkways that are not because are treated with architectural finishes. And and as in car parks, all the gaps and joints and slabs should be turfed whenever possible. So next po is yung pedestrian lane should be provided with aeration slab or railing to protect green areas which are frequently damaged by pedestrian traffic. At yung last po natin for plazas, walkways, pedestrian promenades is yung promenades developed with the commercial district and waterfront can greatly enhance the environment. The width should be 8 meters wide and planting bridges of at least 2 to 4 meters should be provided along both sides of the promenade. At yung last po is for planters or planting through. The use of planters of planting throws is necessary when it's not possible to plant directly on the ground. The size of the planting pronunciation through should be proportional to the type planting materials to be planted. Next po is yung large planters with at least 1 meter internal width and 1.2 meter internal depth are ideal for small trees and palms. The letter D po is planter with minimum internal depth and width of 5 meters are ideal for shrubs. Next po is planters with at least 0.2 meter internal depth and width are for creepers. Creepers po yung mga gumagapang ng mga halaman. Next po is yung a drainage system must be provided for planting throws. This system is basically perfectly overflow pipe laid along the span of planting to channel water to the nearest drainage outlets. That's all po. So, yung activity po namin, isasanda lang din po namin sa GC mamaya. Sa 1/2 crosswise po. Thank you po.